Welcome to PenGen's Inkwell podcast. My name is Jen Waters. I hope you enjoy my stories. Thanks for listening to my new podcast, PenGen's Inkwell podcast. I wrote and performed all the original stories and poems, and Eric Baines scored and produced the tracks with original and public domain music. As my fourth children's music and spoken word release, Curiouser and Curiouser was launched on Apple Music on December 10th, 2019. Then summer of 2020, the release was entered into the Best Spoken Word Album category of the Recording Academy for the yearly Grammy entry list. My previous children's music spoken word releases of original stories and poems, Wonderland, Winter Wonderland, and Impossible Things were all accepted on the Grammy entry list under Best Children's Album. I'm hoping that the stories in the franchise can be adapted for stage, screen, and illustrated print collections. Maybe then they will be as inspiring to people as Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I also have 3 singer-songwriter releases called Whimsy, Purity, and Simplicity, where I wrote or co-wrote all the songs. Eric Baines produced most of those songs, but Jordan Higgins and Justin Moonsey produced some of them as well. Yellow Roses on the Whimsy release is a grand prize winner in the John Lennon Songwriting Contest, which I also sang at the Kennedy Center at an ASCAP Songwriter Showcase with Broadway legend Stephen Schwartz as the host. My other releases, Whimsy for 1 and Whimsy for 2, have the Whimsy songs plus an original Christmas song on each release. For more information about my stories and songs, you can look on my website, jenwaters.com. I usually also come up on Apple Music next to Elton John's Tiny Dancer. The first season of my podcast, PenGen's Inkwell podcast, will be Curiouser and Curiouser, and we're set to release at the end of the summer. It's my most recent children's music and spoken word release on Apple Music, containing 7 stories, and I'm really hoping that you're going to love it. This has been PenGen's Inkwell podcast. I wrote and performed all the original stories in the podcast. This podcast is produced by Eric Baines, who scored all the stories and poems in the series to original and public domain music. The podcast is associated with my blog of the same name, PenGen's Inkwell, which can be found on my website, jenwaters.com.